Hello fellow old schoolers. So we're off to the Long Island Cup 2019. It's the first of its kind and a rather big tournament at the center of Denmark. It's all about this, the coveted Beta Island, the altar you see here. That's the first prize of this particular gig. And I'll use a few minutes to go over my deck in preparations for this tournament, and also talk a bit about how the tournament is set up. And if you want to skip this intro, I've put down in the timestamp in the description below. You can just go to that particular stamp and it will take you right to the first game. But the tournament had all sorts of prizes. This awesome playmat here is for the most creative deck, Spicy Brew, which in essence means the most original or thematic or wacky deck on the scene. We also had this altered balance for the highest placed non-powered deck of the tournament. And we had this fella, Captain Tim, and he's a recurring theme from another tournament, and it's for the heaviest drinker. That means the guy that gets the most drunk during the tournament. He'll win that one. And the tournament has all sorts of little gimmicks, like these pins that you get and you can put on your playmat, and the logo is right here. And the theme of the deck is obviously Long Island drinks, and at the scene they had this wonderful contraption where you could press a tablet for the drink you wanted, and this large wooden machine would just mix the drink up for you. And they had all kinds of drinks, like a Juice and Gin drink and Pearl Unicorn, and obviously Long Island iced tea, Long Island drinks. And it looked like something invented by Emmett Brown from Back to the Future, the professor there, I think. It's quite cool. The organizers of this tournament is Peter and Morton. And Peter, you might remember from the last tournament I attended, a tournament in Esbjerg, where I met him at the finals with his blue and red counterburn. And he's on the left here, and his brother Morton is on the right. And he's also been featured on the channel before with his red, white and black disc controlled deck. So yeah, they just worked their butts off getting this up. And it was like a huge celebration of old school. Here are the participants, players coming from across the country in different play groups. We got the Masters of Presence and North Star Brewers and from Copenhagen, and all sorts of crews here. And we also had some video greetings from across the globe. We had Edwin the Magic Engineer talking to us, and Shaman Ben from MTG Underground, some of you know him, and Brian Manalakos from All Things Considered, Mark Lennegra from Germany, Magnus Delaval from Sweden. He's like the creator and the godfather of the old school format, I think. And the winner of the tournament, it was arranged that he could play against Edwin the Magic Engineer on his channel, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, it was all just a big old school party, and they had to cap the participants to 45 or 43, I think. So yeah, if you're ever in the vicinity or in the country, or you live nearby, come to the next one, Long Island Cup 2020. I think it's one of the 3 largest tournaments in Denmark at the moment. As for me, I had my own little table at the tournament with 2 video cameras. One of the cameras was recording different kinds of weird matchups and spicy brews we found during the tournament, and so they had to play beside me. And then I also had a camera on my own games and tried to record some of the games there, and my journey through this particular tournament. So I'll try to alternate between the uploads and bring you some spicy games from one of the cameras and some of my own matches during this tournament. As for the deck I'm playing, we have it here. It's actually just the next step of the deck I brought with me to Esbjerg past tournament. And as I said, that tournament is featured on the channel as well. So this deck, I won't use too much time to go over it because I've already done so, and you can find the video that's called Prep for the tournament in Esbjerg. But there are some changes here. There are more swords to plowshares, there's a balance, less lightning bolts, and I put out another Underworld Dreams the fourth one can always be put back in from the sideboard if I ever face a blue player. And this particular setup is a bit more stable against Disco Trolls and Nyasu. It has a bit more removal. And it's also very, very vulnerable to City in a Bottle and Blood Moon, and our current meta is flooded with them. But I wanted to play Jusum Gens, and I really like this deck. It's fun to play in my mind. So that's what I'm bringing. Might not be the best, but it's no slouch either. It can be very aggressive and very fast when everything works. And I'll just start off with one of my games here. Actually, the first match I had was against Power Monolith, and it was a deck that won another tournament way back called the Mountain of Madness. I got lucky and won that 2-0. It's not the best matchup for him because my kind of deck has Unreal Dreams and Hypnotic Spectres to pick his hand apart, and blue combo deck, they don't like that. So a nice start for the Composition A deck, and after that I had to face Morton, one of the organizers of the tournament and the guy who almost kicked me out of the SBR tournament last time we played together. But my deck survived and actually got revenge on him at the top 8, but it's by no means an easy matchup for me. He has City in a Bottle and Blood Moons, as I mentioned before, and I think he packs the main deck actually. But my deck should be marginally better against him this time around. At least I hope so. It has been built for that. So let's see how it goes. So starting off with a Pearl and a Demonic Tutor turn 1. And that's an Underground Sea, so I'll likely go for the Ancestral Recall here. It's a solid start. And he plays a Mountain and a Sol Ring into a Mana Vault. So that's a good start as well. Here's the Ancestral. And I still believe Morton plays Unpowered, so again, kudos to him for he usually does very well with this deck. And it relies primarily on beating power decks actually. It's built to counter those. Red Blast, Blood Moon, City in a Bottle, and fast mana through other means and power. So, okay, so he tries to hold me back with disenchanting the Sol Ring and then putting out a set Earth Control. Then we Swords to Plowshare immediately. And yeah, I've just put I'm maxed out on Swords to Plowshares, and that's one of the key differences between this deck and the deck in SBR. Because I found that these Disc Control setup, they can block my Jusums too easily. And I can't bolt the trolls away. But I can Swords to Plowshare them. So there's a Jusum Gen. And he also takes damage from that tapped Mana Vault actually, so he loses tempo here. He either has to tap his mana to untap the Mana Vault, and then he can't really answer the Jusum Gen that much. Otherwise he'll just take, if he doesn't do it, he'll take even more damage. So we'll start pressuring his mana base here. It's a bit of a risk because I don't know if he plays for the new Maces of Ith, and if he draws one of those, that would be pretty annoying, having just spent my Sinkhole, but still, I'm willing to take the risk here because he's so pressured with that tap Mana Vault. So he wheels immediately. That's a bit annoying. I had a lot of answers in hand, but I get it. He really needs to find some answers here. Preferably probably a Swords to Plowshares and a white mana source. I Sinktold his white mana source, by the way, for that same reason. So he has a single red mana, another Mana Vault. Okay. 2 tap Mana Vaults and a Demonic Tutor. But he needs to work fast here. Just cutting the deck. Oh yeah, okay, that's a good pick. From the last few mana from the Mana Vault, he casts it in a bottle, and that's what I talked about. He plays with the main deck. That's a good tech. So bye-bye Yusumjin. He does have 2 tap mana vaults at the moment, and I've got factories against him though. And he's at 12 points of life at this point. Considering something here. Yeah, Hypnotic Spectre, and then attacking with both factories. Boom. And he untaps one of the mana vaults and takes a single point of damage. No. What? 2 points of... Didn't he take 2 points of damage there? Oh, I'm not sure. He at least took 1 from that mana vault. The tapped one. He's really on the clock now. At least he can hold my Yusumjin's back with that city in a bottle. No. Okay, he's considering something here. Then he starts to plowshares the Hypnotic Spectre. It's not the best usage of it. He needs those against the big beaters, but he mustn't have had a lightning bolt in hand. Okay, another troll coming out, but he's tapped out, so he can't regenerate it at this point. So we can actually trade with the factory if he wants to. And he does. He's at 4 points of life now. 2 tap mana vaults and now an Undual Dreams against him. Oh my god. Yeah, so that's 3 points of damage. Unless he untaps one of the vaults. He does so here. In his upkeep. And he's in a bit of a situation here because he could try to disenchant the Undual Dreams before his draw step, but then he'd have to tap his mana vault at his upkeep, and that would damage him further. So he decides to draw, take the damage, disenchant the Undual Dreams, and play a Sedge Troll. He can't regenerate this turn though, and now I'm cracking his only black mana source. So that Sedge Troll is only 2/2 now, and he can't regenerate. Sinkholes, man. So here's the factory. He has to trade again. He's at 2 points of life. Untapping one of the mana vaults, going to 1 point of life here. And there's so much of his mana that's like bound up in those mana vaults. He has to untap them each turn now because he can't take the damage. So we disenchant the Seed in a Bottle before it's my turn. And now here's another Yusumjin. Now he has to untap the final mana vault. Yeah. Electing to keep a factory untapped. Just to chump block the Yusumjin. Trying to survive. Putting out a Sedge Troll. Okay, so he can do that. Tapping a mana vault again. He still can't regenerate with it, but he can block with it. So here we come. And he tries to block with the factory, and I disenchant it. And then before he can block, and then he blocks with the Sedge Troll, and as he can't regenerate it, it goes away. So he's really at the end of the road here. Yeah, not much to do. So that was nice. For me, at least, perhaps not so much for Morton. Sorry about that. Next round, I'm mulliganing down to 5 cards here, though. That's pretty bad. I couldn't draw any mana, so I only have 4 cards in hand at the moment. No, 5 cards because I'm on the draw. So we get down a factory, and he has a factory in a swamp, but he tapped them, so I could get in for 2 points of damage here. City of Brass. Now I can't really attack because there's so many answers against the factory. Okay, so I strip mine the City of Brass here. It's always a good pick in the early game, I think. It can be, at least. He considers... Yeah, he taps his mana and takes a point of damage and then bolts my dice with it. He can't save it for the factory because the mana pool will be cleared when we change it to the attack step. But he had a defending factory, so I can't really get in. And there's another City of Brass, so much for that strip mine. But he used a bolt, so we can put out a Hypnotic Spectre. He might not have one, but he has a Mace of Ith. And he sideboarded those in, I believe. That's fine. But they're very good against Dusumjins and other mid-range creatures, but especially Dusumjins. Though I do have the land destruction options against them. So I attack with a factory and a Hypnotic Spectre, and he discharges the factory. And maces the Hypnotic Spectre, and I pass the turn. There's the plains. Okay, so his situation is pretty mana fixed. He also has a Spirit Link in hand, I see, and a Red Blast. So he has sideboarded a lot of cards against me here. Spirit Links are pretty nifty against Dusumjins, to say the least. That's a pretty annoying glare. I don't think it's that much of an issue in the later games, but at this time of day, there was an unfortunate angle there. Okay, so he puts down a Sedge Troll. Might be a Sol Ring under that glare, but okay, I like to source the Plowshare immediately. And at my turn, I just Mind Twist his hand. Sedge Troll, Red Blast, and a Spirit Link. All gone. And he draws a card and passes the turn. So now I just need to get rid of that pesky Mace of Ith, and he'll be in a lock. Putting down a Dusumjin instead of attacking with the factory. Just trying to build the momentum here and overrun that mace, but he won't allow it. He drew a Source the Plowshares there. Good for him. Okay. Okay, there's a Serendipity Freed, and he Red Blasts it. Yeah, so he just keeps on drawing the answers. And we're just discussing a small bit here. I think he forgot to take a single point of damage. He takes damage from the tapped Mana Bolt and from the City of Brass. So he Mind Twist me right back. That's fair. Got my Soft Plowshares away. And we drew an Unreal Dreams. So now there's a clock on him. And okay, was a Mana Bolt under that glare. He has to untap it, and that makes him take a bit of damage. And now he's tapped out, but he has 2 Maces of Ith, so his defense is all ready, all set. But at least at that Underworld Dreams, it isn't affected by the Mace of Ith. So he Chain Lightnings the Spectra away. I need a lot of creatures here to get in, and I do believe he plays with Nivenral's Discs, so that's a combo right there. The City in a Bottle, getting rid of my City of Brass. It's fine. I'm sufficiently mana fixed at this point. But it does keep the Dusumjins at bay. Not that I would play any at the moment. There are too many Maces of Ith here. Getting rid of one. Passing the turn. And he's still on the defensive here, but he has a lot of removal in his deck, so and mind you, he also has a tapped Mana Vault and an Underworld Dreams against him, so he can't stay on the defense for too long. Now he taps the Mana Vault and puts out a Sedge Troll, Uthden Troll. But I wonder if, yeah, he has to tap all his available mana to untap it. Getting a bad land, and I guess he'd rather keep the mana untapped because he needs that Uthden Troll to be able to regenerate. Okay, so Spirit Links it. That's awesome. Now he can actually get back into the game. Even if I block, okay, I can't have that. I disenchant the Spirit Link. And then I block him. Because even if I block, he would just gain 2 life from it. And I have him almost killed at this point. So I attack with the factory, he blocks with his factory, I disenchant his factory, and he uses the Mace of Ith on my factory, not taking any damage. And I pass the turn, and he has to untap. He spent all his mana to untap his mana vault. He's at 2 points of life, and so if he doesn't untap it, he'll die from the dreams and the mana vault. 1 point of life now. That Spirit Link was his way out. Yeah, I can just pass the turn. No need to do anything else, and yeah, that's game. He had a wheel. He drew into a Wheel of Fortune, the most useless card at the moment that he could pick. Unlucky for him, but yeah. So that was 2-0 for the Composition A for the first 2 matches here. I'm not sure how many of these games I have recorded, because I had issues with having enough space on the hard drive, but the other camera had space for like 24 hours non-stop recordings. So I got a bunch of games from all kinds of different decks that played under that camera, and I haven't seen any of those games yet. So if I can make it work, I'll try to post one of those games next, and then I'll get back to my journeys through this tournament and so on. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.